Shifting focus now, after incendiary balloons launched from the Palestinian enclave caused fires in Israel, the Jewish state hit Gaza with retaliatory airstrikes. The airstrikes targeted a military base belonging to Hamas in Khan Yunis. Now, the strikes come after Israel cut the fishing zone off the Gaza Strip by half. Now, the military branch responsible for the civil affairs in the Palestinian territories said that the fishing zone had been reduced from 12 nautical miles to 6. The decision was made following the continued launching of incendiary balloons from the Gaza Strip towards Israel. The Defense Force calls it a violation of Israeli sovereignty. No injuries have been reported on either side. The Israeli Defense Forces said, and I quote, "Hamas was responsible for all activities within the Gaza Strip and all actions originating in the Gaza Strip directed toward the state of Israel. It will therefore bear the consequences for the violence committed against the citizens of the state of Israel," unquote. Now, earlier on Sunday, Israeli firefighters extinguished blazes at 3 spots in the Eshkol region. The incendiary balloons were the cause of the fires. Now, the balloons are basic devices intended to set fire to farmland surrounding the Israeli blockaded Palestinian enclave. On the 12th of July, Israel had announced the re-expansion of the fishing zone off the Gaza Strip, allowing additional imports into the Palestinian territory. But it had also warned the measure could be reversed in response to fresh unrest. In May of this year, an 11-day conflict saw Israel launch hundreds of airstrikes on Gaza. Hamas fired thousands of rockets at Israel. Prior to this conflict, Gaza fishing zone was 15 nautical miles. But Israel reduced the zone during the warfare. Even after a ceasefire between the two sides, there has been sporadic unrest, with Hamas launching incendiary balloons and Israel responding with airstrikes targeting facilities belonging to Hamas. Now, our correspondent Jody Cohen gets you more on this story.
Since the two sides agreed to a ceasefire following 11 days of conflict in May, we've seen relatively low levels of activity continue on the border between Gaza, ruled by Hamas, and Israel. Now, fresh explosive devices on balloons into Israel damaging the fields has led Israel to respond. Israel had warned that it wouldn't accept this violation of Israeli sovereignty and would respond with rocket fire, and now it has, targeting a Hamas military base and what it says are infrastructure and utilities used for activities of the terror group. There were no immediate reports of casualties. In response to the arson attacks, Israel also said it was cutting the Gaza Strip's fishing zone in half. Behind the latest back and forth is the issue of fuel and money, which Hamas wants as quickly as possible. Israel is asking the international community to ensure that any fuel and money that gets into Gaza goes to the people and not to rebuilding terrorist infrastructure, as Israel says has happened in the past. This is Jody Cohen from Jerusalem for WION World is One.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.